How's it going, everyone? CotC here, and welcome to my Primrose overview and evaluation. Primrose is a powerful dancer unit who is also one of the playable 8 characters in the original Octopath. Prim is voiced by Hoko Kuwashima, a veteran voice actress and singer with over 2 decades of experience. Some of her other roles are from popular titles in anime and video games alike, such as Inuyasha, Clannad, and Tales of Symphonia. Primrose is a daughter of the noble house Azelhart, but currently lives a double life as a stage dancer in the desert town of Sunshade, secretly hunting down those who have wronged her. As a dancer, she has access to powerful buffs and dark magic, just like in the original Octopath Traveler. That being said, while Primrose's kit is indeed based on the dancer kit from the original, it has been rebalanced for the CotC universe. Let's take a look. One of Primrose's main selling points is her extremely high magic stat, currently the highest in the game by a fair margin. This makes her very well suited to be a dark DPS unit, especially since there aren't any extremely notable dark casters currently in the game, with the closest behind her being Heinz. For dark options, she has 2 very powerful skills. The first is a 3-hit dark random target, inflicting 15% dark defense down for 2 turns per hit. This is the same skill that Sophia has access to, except with a higher base power, and thus a higher SP cost as well. The other skill is a 2-hit dark AoE that also inflicts 2 turns of 15% defense and magic defense down on all enemies hit. While this is an extremely powerful skill, it suffers from a couple downfalls: its extremely high SP cost at 80, as well as its significantly diminished value when only fighting a single enemy. Between these 2 skills, Primrose is able to debuff enemy defenses in multiple ways and deal high amounts of sustained dark damage. Primrose's other claim to fame is her powerful 5-star buff, giving all allies in the front row 20% attack, magic, and speed for 2 to 5 turns. This is an amazing skill that covers pretty much everything we would want out of an offensive buff. That being said, while it is extremely powerful, it suffers from a similar problem as the last 2 skills we've already talked about: its extremely high SP cost, at 70 SP per cast. The duration, which is normally 2 to 5 turns, is further boosted to 3 to 6 turns thanks to her 3-star passive, which gives all buffs casted by Primrose a +1 turn duration. Do note that in the future, once other buff extension options like the Bravely fan get released, you cannot stack the buff extension effects. For her other options, she also has access to 4-hit fan random target, which is extremely useful for knocking down shields. Her relatively low attack stat, as well as the naturally low attack stat on fans in general, means that this probably won't be doing too much damage, but for the purposes of breaking shields, this ability is unrivaled. She also has a full front row 20% physical attack and defense buff, which is the best buff that she has access to outside of 5-star. Unfortunately, this does mean that she lacks any buff to the magic stat if she isn't at a full 5-star. When you have Primrose as a 4.5 star, she is missing a couple extremely powerful pieces of her kit, but will still have a decently high magic stat as well as access to her 3-hit dark attack, 4-hit fan, and team-wide attack and defense buff. One thing you really need to watch out for as a 4.5 star though is her lower max SP pool, and the fact that her passive restores an amount based on that max SP stat. This means that even if you keep her healthy, the amount of SP she'll actually be gaining back is lower, while the SP cost of her moves remains constant. Primrose's kit can also be a bit finicky depending on how many enemies you're fighting against. Her 2-hit AoE dark spell with defensive debuffs is significantly overcosted when fighting a single enemy, so it's preferred to use it against a fight with multiple enemies instead. However, other elements of her kit, such as her 4-hit random target fan and 3-hit random target dark, are significantly worse in fights against multiple enemies due to their inconsistency in hitting the preferred target. As such, Primrose is another character that shares a similar trait with Tressa in that she's less preferred but still very powerful for general play, and is much more powerful in organized compositions where you know exactly how you can make use of her. In particular, one fight that Primrose will dominate moving forward is the, well, spoiler alert first I guess, Glossom Cup, where many enemies are weak to dark. That being said, the Glossom Cup has been defeated without Primrose many times. In fact, shoutouts to Hoshi Games who delivered an inspiring win over Glossom with just 1 5-star around the time the fight came out. In order to address her extremely high SP costs, we also need to take a look at her 1-star passive. Whenever Primrose is at 75 HP or higher, she will regenerate 5% of her max SP per turn. It's important to keep Primrose topped up on HP so that she can continually pump out high amounts of dark damage without running too low on SP. You could potentially pair her with the same units that you would pair with a unit like Tressa or Sophia, who also want full HP for their passives. That is, back row regen units such as Camilla or Merit. Although, one thing to note is that Primrose's SP regen is applied at the exact same time as all of those other regens, which means that if she isn't already at 75% or higher HP before the regens are applied, she will not gain back any SP. That being said, keeping her healthy is important anyways, so she can potentially gain back SP on follow-up turns. When it comes to accessories, Primrose can make use of dark runes to increase the amount of dark damage that she deals to enemies, since she doesn't come with any dark damage up herself like Scholars would. You could also consider Beastly Scarves to keep her HP high and enable her SP regeneration passive, or you could skip the middleman altogether and equip Dragon Scarves to give her guaranteed SP regen. Ultimately, Primrose is not a unit that I would personally view as a buff role. Rather, I view her as a dark magic DPS with buffing options, as she's probably going to be the strongest available dark attacker for a long time moving forward. Ideally, she's throwing out powerful dark spells leveraged by her massive magic stat, rather than spending turns and valuable BP buffing the team instead. If you do not have Lynette, Primrose can indeed serve as a buffing role, but I actually think that Primrose is especially powerful when on the same team as Lynette. This would allow Lynette to play the role of main buffer, using her BP to give 5 turns of buffs to the team, while Primrose can cast a 0 BP buff to cap at 30% attack and magic up, and then save her BP for damage instead. This setup also allows Lynette and Primrose to stack their magic defense down debuffs to hit the 30% debuff cap as well. I feel like a lot of players right now are trying to make direct comparisons between both Primrose and Lynette that I think are not very valid. Of course, not everyone playing the game is going to have Lynette in the first place, and so the question arises, should you roll for Primrose? I think Primrose is a pretty good character to potentially try some rolls for, especially if you don't already have Lynette. However, I think it's important to emphasize that we have no idea how the EN schedule works anymore regarding the original 8 Octopath characters, as of these surprise Tressa and Primrose releases. Not only do we have no idea when Haunted is going to be released, but most importantly, Cyrus, a character that is universally agreed upon to be one of the most highly prioritized and powerful units in the game, could come out much sooner than we thought he would. Just exercise caution and remember that you will have more chances to pick up Primrose down the line if you choose not to roll for her now, either through pulling her as an off banner, or eventually trying your luck on a step-up banner down the line. Simp responsibly, folks. And that concludes my overview and evaluation for Primrose. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. If you haven't already checked it out, be sure to watch my overview on Lynette, which was uploaded simultaneously with this Primrose guide. It covers a lot of what you'll be able to do with Lynette right now, as well as in the future, and why she's considered such a stellar unit deep into COTC's lifespan. Meanwhile, Square Enix just seems to have their foot floored on the gas pedal right now, and has already announced the next incoming character, Therese, so keep on the lookout for my overview on her coming soon. And until next time, this has been CotC. See ya!